Hey people, Aman Versa here. This is day 6 of Python programming tutorials, and today we shall be learning about functions. Now, what exactly are functions in Python? So, to define a function, we use def as in define, D-E-F, and then we define a function. So, shouldn't have done that. Okay, def, and then we could name the function whatever we want. It's like naming a variable. I mean, obviously you wouldn't name your variable and or something because it's already a keyword. So we'll just name it example. Okay, and then we'll put a parentheses and then a colon and then enter. Now whatever you enter, oops, here this is inside the function. The same way anything you write in a for loop and then you click enter, there's a tab space. So all this stuff is inside the function and this is outside the function. I hope that makes sense. That's just normal stuff. So we'll just print something. Let's say print hello world. Okay, so why do we use functions? That's a good question. Let's just try to run this and see what happens. Let's see what output do we get. Oh, we get no output. I wonder why did that happen. Okay, so functions, they need to be called before they can run. So this is how you call the function. You just take the name of that function in parentheses, and this is how you call the function. And let's see, and here, that's our answer. Let's just okay, so what happens is the program first starts from here and then it reads this, and the example function is defined in this way. Think of it as a chapter in a book. So this is the name of the chapter of the book, and this is what's written on the page. So later on when you take that name, so what this does is this example function runs and then does whatever it is like inside the function. So I can run this multiple times and we can just see. So it will do that 2 times. Advantages of doing this, I'll show you. So let's say you are writing a for loop and you're trying to print something 10 times. Now yes, you can write 2 lines of code inside. You can do this. I mean, obviously you can do this and you'll get this 10 times. Yes, that's fine, but there's a better way, and that is to make a function. So basically when I'll call this, I'll just this code will run when I call this, and I'll just do example parenthesis, and it runs the same way. In fact, we are just using up one single line to do something repetitive. Let's try our main addition function that we used to do. Remember? So let's just say a equals 4, b equals 5, c equals a plus b, and then we'll just print c. Okay, now when we run this, nothing will happen because it's inside the function and function does not run unless it's called upon. So nothing happens. But when we finally call that function, we get our answer 9. Now there is something known as parameters in the function which makes our lives a lot easier. Let me show you. So instead of saying a equals 4 and b equals 5, we could just say a comma b. And so basically what happens is whenever this function will run, we can just put the values. Let's say 3 comma 8. So 3 and 8, that will be a and b. So a equals 3, b equals 8. Now a plus b, that is 3 plus 8, that could be 11. Print 11, our answer should be 11. We can do this a multiple of times. I can say example 999 plus 1000, and that's it. This is our answer for this function, and this is our function for this function. Okay, What else? Well, we could define a function named multiplication, and we will take two inputs. We can just say C equals A times B and then just print C. Well, obviously nothing happens until you call the function, so we'll just say multiplication. Let's pick up 13 and 18, I don't know, 234. Perfect, we get our answer. Let's go through a few of the uses of the functions. Remember that prime number program that we made? Yeah, let's try to recreate that. Let's make a function known as prime checker, and we'll take up a value number. It could be any number. I'll just call it n. Okay, now when you get an n, what do? Well, firstly you loop it for I in range from 1 to n square root of n plus 1. I think we should go from 2 because that would make sense. Now if n happens to be divisible by I, then we'll just say that prime equals false, and I suppose we could just prime equals true, and then we break out from the loop, normal stuff. Let's see what happens, and we just okay, now we return, we could just return the value prime, or we could just say print. I think we should just return prime. Now what does return mean? So basically when the entire function runs, this is the value prime that will be given back to us. So it will be, it could be used as an output in a variable or something. It will make more sense once I run this. Okay, so nothing happens obviously. We'll try to find prime. We'll use prime checker and we'll use it on 23, I believe. Let's see what do we get. Okay, yes, we made an error, got float. Sometimes Python 2 is a headache. Yeah, I think we also need to print the true or false of the nature. Okay, 23 is a prime. That's true. That's amazing. Okay, let's try 28. 28 is not a prime. Okay, we could try 101. 101 is a prime. Now why did we go and make this function, right? It doesn't make sense. Why make a function for something? Well, if you seem to remember, when you try to print out prime numbers, you have to like put this inside the for loop, and then it gets messy. So instead you could just take all this code and put it in a single line named prime checker, and it just makes your life easier. Let's say we want to print all the prime numbers. What will it do? We'll just say for I in range, let's say you want to print from 2 to 1000. Yeah, let's go with that. So we'll just say if prime checker, and we'll just put the value I. Now I can see equals true or false, but that doesn't matter because inside an if statement, if this value happens to be true, then this will run. If it happens to be false, it won't run. So it's none of our business. That's completely fine. We could just print the value I, or we could go for something fancy. We could just say prime list dot append I. Now we did forget to, oops, we can just make up a prime list equals, okay, let's just run this and the program is finished. Okay, let's print out prime list and hopefully it works. These are the first 1000 primes. Now once again, you could make up a function for this too if you think about it. So let's do that. I'll just cut that out. Define print primes, and we'll accept a minimum and we'll accept a minimum and maximum value. Okay, and then we just print this. Now think about it. What does that minimum and maximum value do? Well, minimum has to go here, right? Because we start from 2. That is technically our minimum value. So we'll just say minimum here, and maximum. We did go to 1000, right? So we'll just replace 1000 with maximum. We are just making new variables. That's it. There's no big deal. And then instead of we could just print this, or we could just print them here. Prime list. Oops, my bad. We could just print this. Now when I run this, nothing will happen. Obviously nothing will happen. So we'll call this function. Let's call print of primes. We'll give it a minimum value of, let's say, 1000 and 1100. Why not? Okay, so we'll find the primes between 1000 and 1100, and let's just see what happens. So these are the primes. Now let's go through this again and see what exactly happened. So when we call this function print primes with the value 1000 and 1100, this function entirely goes here to our 10th line, when we define the function. Now this function is defined in such a way that it will accept a minimum and a maximum value. Our minimum value is 1000, our maximum value is 1100. So when we go inside this function, the for loop runs such that for I in range minimum. Now what was our minimum? Well, 1000. What was our maximum? 1100. So I will range from 1000 to 1100, and I think I should put a +1 here. Yeah. So it will check if prime checker is I. That means, is I our prime number? Is it a prime number? Now when we call this function, what happens is the program goes up top, it goes here. So prime checker of n prime equals true, it's always true. Then you run through this to the I ranges from, this is a different I by the way, it ranges from 2 to the square root of that value, and then we check if it's divisible by the number smaller than it or not. If it is, then it's a false. If it's not, then it's a prime. So basically this prime checker function made our life a lot more easier because it checks for prime. This is what this function does. We can just collapse it right now, and it doesn't even matter what's inside it right now as long as it works. We can even collapse this function. So our code looks a lot more cleaner. You have to admit that. I could just put, I don't know, you could go wild. Let's say we put 1 million, let's say, yeah, that seems about right. This is 1,001,000, and actually we should have done the other way around. Yeah, we'll just remove this, 0, that's 1 2 3 4 5 6, 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, let's see the primes between a million and million thousand. These are the primes between million and million thousand, and I mean, you could do a lot of things with this. Let's say you want to know what's the length, so we'll just say print normal print, we'll just say give us the length of prime list. Okay, and there are 75 primes between 1 million and 1,000,000. So this is already good for mathematics. That's it for today. Have fun. I hope functions made sense to you. If it doesn't, please do not hesitate to contact me in the comments or personally, and have fun. Happy programming.